the dirt on rock and roll?
You got it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tulsa Music Stream. This is episode 86, and we will be joined with Clint Switzer and Chuck Shute from the Chuck Shute podcast, and of course On the Road to Rock with Clint Switzer.
Yeah, Chuck is waiting in the wings as we speak. We're still awaiting the arrival of Clint, but I would expect him here any moment. Before we start talking with the fellas about all things podcast business related, this is going to be a really interesting episode. You know, maybe we're not talking to Don Dawkin, but let me tell you what, the guys we are going to be talking to, Scott and I both look up to both of them, and I would consider both of them guys who have set a bar in this industry, and you know, we wanted to do this not only to pick their brains and get an education on this business, but also just to kind of pay some respect and let them know how we think that what they do is truly like an industry standard as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to get into this business and do it the right way, you're going to want to follow Chuck Shute and Clint Switzer because they do things the right way. Clint is getting in the room.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring the guys on yet until we've got everybody all set up here. Scott, why don't you talk a little bit?
Just want to make sure that everyone shares this on your not your YouTube, but your Facebook pages and all that good stuff.
Sure.
Your groups. Make sure you follow our page. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Twitter, our Twitch, and our podcast platforms like Spotify, Our Heart Radio, Amazon, and all the others. So many platforms. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? And tonight's going to be a learning experience for me. I am used to having one guest on the Zoom screen, and so I'm probably going to be playing with our layout as we talk to these guys. First of all, Clint, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to try something, and it may not go well, but we'll figure it out as we go. I was just telling Chuck before you got on. Let me try putting us all on here. Okay. Well, that was not it. What about that?
Go.
Well, that's not the way I want it, but let's play with it here. Now that's just Chuck. So I'm curious, Chuck, if you say that's Clint, if you say something, Chuck, let me see if it pops over to you. Just give me a
hi, how's it going?
Yeah. Okay. Is that how we want? I think we can live with that. So whoever's talking will be the guy on camera. So if you guys want more camera time, you're just going to have to start yelling and just overtalk the other guy. But anyway,
Chuck's better looking than me.
Clint. We do that all the time with each other.
Scott, you tell me. I want your opinion. This is kind of a loosey goosey episode. Do you like me doing it like? Let's see here, like the gallery. But the thing that sucks is we're up here in the corner and we've made the guys here too small. So I don't know if I like that one. Let's try it the other way. You guys will both get plenty of camera time. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Cool, man. Well, first of all, guys, I want to thank both Chuck Shute and Clint Switzer for coming on with us. Clint, as we were telling Chuck, we look at both of you guys as guys who have set the bar in this industry, in the podcast industry. You know, here we are, a couple of bumbling, stumbling musicians, just barely figuring things out as we go, and we've had people help us along the way, but we have so much to learn. So when we started researching guys that are in this business, we realized how great both of you are and that you've set that bar to which we can aspire to. Before we get into talking about the business, I want you guys to kind of give an introduction, just a top level introduction, who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been in the business. Go ahead, Chuck.
Okay. Chuck Shute podcast, easy to remember. Started in I think 2019. And so, I just celebrated 4 years of this podcast.
Man.
And what was the other question?
Basically that was it. Just where you're from and how long you've been in the business.
Where I'm from, I'm actually from Seattle originally, which is kind of ironic because, as you probably know, I love the hair metal, and I grew up in Seattle in the 90s, and I was wearing like Motley Crue t-shirts and stuff, and that was kind of frowned upon.
Sure.
I was like the only one. Everyone else is like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, all that stuff, and I'm more like Motley Crue, Skid Row, and so it's kind of interesting. They called it butt rock over there back then.
Yeah, I know. And let me tell you, you're a guy after our own heart, because I wouldn't let the 80s die. I hung on to it through the 90s. So props to you. How about you, Clint? Where are you from, and how long have you been in this business?
I am from Kansas City. I've been in the business about 11 years now, and it just kind of started with sending people messages on Twitter, Facebook, anything I could, just to try to get an interview. I didn't even have a functioning microphone the first interview I did, which was with Jeff Pilson backstage at a Foreigner concert at the Missouri State Fair. I had a video camera and a prop mic that I thought would look more professional if I was asking questions with this fake mic that wasn't working. So it was anything to make that connection. And that kind of started. I met you guys at Rocklahoma 2007.
That's right.
Believe it or not, I have a picture with you guys from that famed experience and Down for Five, and how impactful that whole situation was. Like, I just wanted to be in there. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to know more and just tell that story of these great musicians. And I think that's where we all are so similar. That's what we all want to do. We're all just fans at heart.
Absolutely.
Now, your show is On the Road to Rock with Clint Switzer, but you kind of have like an umbrella that you go under with I guess it's Starcade. Is it Starcade Entertainment or
Media?
Starcade Media. We do a lot of sports, NFL. We're credentialed for SEC, NFL, Super Bowl, pretty much anything, and that has been a big focus. So this has been just such a, I don't want to call it a side thing or a hobby, because it does mean a lot to me, but yes, I have other focuses as well, but this is just, I always find time for this, because it's important, and just getting these musicians out there, and if they have new projects and things like that, we all know how important it is to help them out, and they in turn, of course, help us out when they do interviews with us. So it kind of goes full circle.
Certainly.
That's so cool, because I mean, I'll go and check out both you guys, especially on Spotify when I'm at work. I love to listen to Chuck and both of you, and you both have two complete different styles, which are both great, and I love both. And like, Clint, you're more get in, get out with your questions. You're real fast. You're a fast talker. You got your questions. You're ready to go. Chuck is a little bit more deep. He's a little more deeper. He kind of gets into the lyrics and questions certain things and sees different things about his guests that normally I wouldn't hear or know. So it's two different styles, but they work very well for both of you. Have you guys ever kind of analyzed your own personality a little bit? Chuck? You guys are both on screen, by the way.
You guys are so nice. Can I just say thank you? Like, Jana starts out with an amazing intro. I was like, it reminded me of that movie As Good as It Gets, where she gets mad at Jack Nicholson. She's like, pay me a compliment right now. And he's like, you make me want to be a better man. And she's like, oh, hey, like, that was like one of the nicest things. And now you're saying more nice things. Like, I mean, keep going, don't stop. But no, I never really thought of my own personality. Like, I've never heard anybody put it like that, like in such a complimentary way. And I think you're right. I love Clint's style. Like, my brother is like, I remember when Clint and I do another show, is gambling sports, and my brother was like messaging me. He's like, I wish I had Clint Switzer's energy, because he's just like, hey, how's it going, guys? Just like, it's so high energy, and I love that. And I try to be like that sometimes too. But yeah, I think with mine, I try to kind of extend it, and I kind of go all over the place. Like, sometimes I'm really happy and upbeat, and then other times I try to talk about sad things and funny things. And so, yeah, that's a great analysis. Thank you for the nice compliments.
What about your style, Clint? Have you ever self-analyzed?
I think that early on, I was doing some shows, and they were maybe longer, and I was talking a lot more. And I think somebody on Metal Sludge was like, an hour of talking? Oh, get me out of here. And so I was like, you know what? I get that. I'm going to go fast, and we're going to get in and get out. Let's do 27 minutes and get the good stuff and get some things that, people want to see and get out of there. That's been my style. That's how I do it with athletes that I interview, try to get to the meat. But like, I was listening to Chuck's interview with Dee Snider, and I will say his was much better than mine, as he's talking about social issues and into the weeds on Dee's new book called Frats, which is a really good book, by the way. And I'm just sitting here like, you went to Washington, PMRC, Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. Like, I mean, so you're right. Scott and Jana, it is completely different styles, but Chuck and I get along great. We're friends. We've hung out in Vegas a time or two. We've done some gambling shows together. No one watched because we got every pick wrong. So, so don't let your money stay and play with us. But
well, you guys probably, I'm sure you both have learned this too. Man, it really depends on what mood you are catching your guest in that particular day. You know, maybe some days they just would rather hit the easy, quick and get out stuff, and some days they're ready to get deep. And I know we've run into that before. You know, we've really lucked out because I mean, most of our guests have been willing to open up. And man, the one with Don Dawkin we had, the way it started, I thought we were in for a rough ride, and then in about 10 minutes he was loose and just spilling it. And it's like, you know, you really, people have to understand that this is not an easy thing to do. And I'm kind of convinced that you either have the gift or you don't. Now, obviously there are things you can learn and get better at, but you really have to be able to read people and understand their current mood. And, you know, doing what we do, man, if you want to hang on to that guest and stretch it into an hour-long visit, you have to meet them where they are right at that moment. So sometimes it calls for different styles, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. Yeah.
So it goes into some of your guys' prep work and like your post game or your post interview, you know, like sending out to media and things like that. You know, you guys are just a one-man crew, you know, and so you guys basically are having to do all of the stuff on your own. Is that right?
Yeah, I know for me, it's 100% just me. I mean, my girlfriend helps occasionally with like little things like sound syncing. She's better at that. She has the patience more, so she'll help me with that. But yeah, otherwise it's mostly all me. I know Clint, his other stuff, he has a partner, but the rock stuff, I think it's all you, right?
It is. I did have a partner very early on, which was a friend of mine. And it was one of those deals like he just couldn't make the interviews. You got to remember, you know, before 2020, it was like, can I record a phone call? How do you do that? Right. So it was like, I had like two mics, one of which was like pointed towards a phone. The other one I was talking into, and it was literally like taking a phone call and recording it like organically. That's how it was. We were doing it. So like, there's been so many, you know, advantageous technological advances just over the past 3 years that have allowed for more shows like this. And so many have come up in the last 3-4 years as well. So yeah, I know, I think it's beneficial. And, you know, just to think about the archaic beginnings of all this, especially for me with mics that didn't work and phone calls, a lot of them that sounded like somebody was in a tunnel. I remember once I had Mike Tramp and it was just like cutting in and out horrible. And it was Mike Tramp. I was all about it, tried to make it work. And you do what you can. Sometimes those things are kind of unavoidable.
Boy, that's for sure. Yeah, we had a terrible connection with Doro Pesh. I mean, where you caught about
so
every,
sweet.
She's wonderful. Yeah. But you know, here she is halfway across the world and we're catching about every fourth word and the other three words are garbled, but we just fought through it and, you know, made the best of it. But I want to ask you guys, kind of backing up to your origins, did you guys know early on at an early age that you were interested in media and broadcasting, or is this a love that has developed later in life for both of you? Start with you, Clint.
For me, absolutely it was. From the age of early as I can remember, age of 4 or 5, I knew that I wasn't normal, that like 9-to-5 jobs, there's no way. I was from a small town in Missouri called Clinton, about an hour from Kansas City. And it was like, I was watching everything that I could, MTV and sports and all these wonderful, pop culture phenomenon that the 80s were. As you can see, I've never left it either, Jana.
Right.
And I knew, I was like, well, I'm not physically capable of being an NFL quarterback. Sure. And so there's got to be a way here. And so, yes, for me it was. And finally, about a year and a half ago, I quit my job. I was in education. I believe Chuck was as well. We're just kind of kindred spirits, he and I, to do this full time. So yes, there was from a very early age, I just knew I wasn't normal. I was like, I don't know I'm just watching my dad do horrible, stupid jobs that, were not gratifying. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what all this is yet, but I got to get out there and experience all of it. So
Sure. How about you, Chuck?
I mean, yeah, I think it's just, for me, it's a similar kind of thing. Like it's a love of, multiple things, entertainment, whether it's music, movies or sports. Like I just always love that stuff. It kind of fluctuated which one more, but like in high school, it's definitely like music. Got really into music. Tried to play guitar, wasn't very good at that. So I tried different things throughout my life. Like in college, I took acting classes. After college, I tried stand-up comedy. Like nothing really like clicked where I was like felt like, oh, this is what I'm like meant to do on this earth or whatever. Until I started interviewing guests, and I was like, I don't know. I really like this. I don't know if other people are going to like it, but I really like this. I feel like I have a purpose for this. And then like when I did occasionally get somebody that said, hey, good job. Like at first you kind of don't believe them. You're like, oh, you're just saying that because you're my friend or whatever. But then when you get like a stranger to say it, then it kind of like, okay, like that's encouraging enough that, all right, well, somebody thought this was good. I mean, I have a lot of people that tell me I suck too, but you kind of like, you have to read the room a little and say, okay, well, there's enough people saying that I should keep going that maybe I should. So yeah.
Which kind of brings me to the point of when you posted on Facebook, Nikki Six, I guess, hit like on something that you posted or something, and you basically in your post you said, sometimes I feel like no one really cares, but when I see something like this, it kind of makes me want to push and go a little bit, longer doing this sort of thing, which I totally understand. It's like, you get all these opportunities, and then sometimes it's like, does anyone even care what I'm doing and this and that? Right. So, that kind of goes with what you were kind of saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's there's a lot of episodes that I'll put out, and if it's not a big rock star, a lot of times nobody will listen. Like I don't have a built-in audience like a radio station.
Right.
I think that's what a lot of people get confused about, including publicists will, pitch me these guests. They're like, hey, well, you have this person on. I'm like, look, I can have that person on, but unless their fan base is going to tune in and listen, like I don't really have a fan base per se that's going to listen to every episode. Right. I mean, maybe a few handful of people, but so it's difficult. It's challenging. So yeah, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, oh, okay, like, great. I posted that, I worked really hard on this interview. I posted the video and it gets like 60 views on YouTube or whatever. So, but then, you see something like that where you do a clip and Nikki Six liked it. I was like, I mean, my jaw just dropped when I saw that. I was like,
absolutely.
What the hell? It's crazy. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Clint.
I kind of have a question for you both, which is, having seen you guys perform at Rocklahoma back in 2007 and just making that connection. And then I've run into you guys at various concerts over the years. Scott, we seem to cross paths more often than not down in the Tulsa area. Exactly. Which that just got canceled again. I was supposed to see that next week in Iowa, and it was canceled, of course.
Yeah.
For you guys, like what made you want to come on board to do this? Because you're musicians. I saw Rocket Science just in November after Bret Michaels down in Miami, Oklahoma. Wow. I love what you guys do. You're tremendous musicians. So like, what made you want to come to this side of it as well?
Well, basically COVID, we were kind of shut down. We couldn't really play. We did a lot more playing than most, though. We still kind of pushed ahead, and there was different rules, different, bars that had to shut down at a certain time, but we somehow still kind of managed. We had to cancel a few, but those first few that we canceled, we were just kind of stuck in that house, and people were kind of throwing, you start seeing on Facebook people interviewing and podcasts and just weird stuff, just streams, Facebook streams. And so she's like, hey, let me interview you. And so we had a fun little idea. And it was a Mickey Mouse setup. I put up like some banners and I even had like a smoke machine that came out.
It was stupid.
We had music and like, I think we used a rock band type microphone.
Oh, yeah.
And somehow we just wired it all up on an iPad and just got it to work, and had a boom box, and the mic was, connect, to it, had the music, little intro music. It was really
ghetto,
but it was fun. And so she interviewed me until it got dark. We had no lighting hardly. And so we thought, man, we had a lot of people that came in. It's like, man, you guys are really good at this. And so from then on, that's where it was on a porch of our house that she interviewed me.
And I'll tell you one thing we have discovered doing this. Tell me if you guys agree. I think people doing this on this side of the microphone, asking people to talk about themselves, I think you genuinely have to care about other people. I think it's very difficult for people who are, how do I say this? And let's face it, we live in a selfie world, so people are very self-absorbed. A lot of people are. I think the people that do great at this job are people who genuinely care and are genuinely interested in the lives and stories of other people. And he and I certainly are. And man, I mean, like, we cannot believe who has come in here and talked to us.
Right.
Chuck, you were talking about, if it's not a big name guest, the view count is low. Brother, do we feel you on that? I mean, Scott and I have had this conversation before. To me, the podcast business, and I think COVID did this, the podcast business is so oversaturated now, and it's trying to make it with a podcast is honestly probably trying to make it with a band, get your band signed back
Great
in the 80s.
point.
I mean, it's just, there's so much. Everybody's vying for everybody's attention. It's so hard to grab people and hold them for longer than 60 seconds. So what we're doing is tough. But I want to encourage both of you guys. You're both so good at what you do. I hope you guys never give up.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Chuck and I we were just talking about that exact thing and how it even, the oversaturation kind of hurts when it comes to the interviews having exclusivity. I mean, we've all shared a lot of guests, especially even recently. And so when you've got people not only doing our 3 shows, but 7, 8, 9, 10 shows, and they're popping up on Blabbermouth and it's all over the place. I don't know. I think that even the interviews and the artists become oversaturated, which kind of makes the views go down as well. So it's kind of a cyclical thing. Chuck, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to apologize if your views are down on this episode.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
I'm not going to bring in a lot of listeners for you. I apologize. Not as many as Doug talking, I'm sure.
Usually we just share the hell out of it and all that. And with this, we just wanted to just kind of have it out there and just have a good talk and not worry about on any of that stuff. So,
but please go ahead with your point.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was agreeing with Clint. Yeah, it definitely can be oversaturated. So that's why I think too, like with mine is like, I try to stand out in some way because I do a lot of research. So I'll listen to a lot of the other interviews with the guests that I'm having on. I'll listen to past interviews. And I think at first I would be like, okay, I should have him tell this story. This is a really good story. And I still do some of that, but I think more now what I'm doing is saying, okay, he's already told that story. He's already told that story. He's already told that story. He's like, let me see, what are some things he's not talked about? Or what's an angle I can take that's different on this subject?
Yes.
So that my interview could be a little different. And I think I appreciate that. I think the guest appreciates that. I think the listeners appreciate that. And I think Blabbermouth, they definitely love that. They love it when something is new and they can write an article about it. So
you basically, your main home is YouTube. Is that right, Chuck? That's where
I'm
you're
on all the Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. But for me, it's the YouTube is the only thing that brings in just even a little bit of money. And I love growing. I've seen that one grow the most. Like the Instagram and the Facebook and Twitter and the regular podcast stuff has kind of like been stagnant for me. But the YouTube it just seems to be taking off a little bit more. And then I can supplement the podcast with other content. And so I'd like to try to do that and kind of go back and forth with, getting people to watch a short video that I make that's 5 or 10 minutes. Right. That's easier to consume than a podcast, and then hopefully get them to subscribe and then potentially watch some of the longer content.
See, we're kind of the opposite, where Facebook is our one, and YouTube is our second. I mean, it's so hard at like getting subscribers. It's like almost you got to beg people to get subscribed.
Do both of you guys like? I mean, I'm not asking you to divulge any secrets or anything because I understand. We're friends here, but it is a competitive business. But do you have any, like, just in a nutshell, advice for how to grow your YouTube page? Because that's our goal. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, and it's tough.
It is. It is very tough. And after doing this for 11 years, my main YouTube, Starcade Media, has 2,300. That's after 11 years.
Wow.
And so that averages out to not very many a year of new subscribers, and it is constantly a battle. There are no secrets to me, because I remember early on I would watch videos and like, oh, here we go. Here's somebody that has the secret. And they'd be like, create a dynamic video, an entertaining video. I'm like, okay. So it's a source of frustration. It always is. It's something that not only do you have to get to 1,000 subscribers, you have to get like 40,000 watch hours. I remember, Chuck, when you were like hovering around that mark, and I was like, oh, by the way, you got to get 40,000 watch hours out of it too.
Jeez.
So much fun to navigate through all the algorithms and things. But yeah, overall, it's funny because for me, for sure with the music podcast, but definitely with sports, it was a dirty word. Podcast was a dirty word. People would be like, this is in 2013. Do you have a radio show? It's like, well, it's a podcast. And just trying to Google how do you put one on Apple, and Spotify maybe was even not, I don't even think around quite yet whenever I first started. So you had to go through all these intricate hoops just to get a podcast on these platforms, and then to try to get it out there. And not everybody has an iPhone. And so that it's just constantly evolving. So you got to kind of find which one is working best for you guys. Facebook's pretty good for us too, because we've had that page for, again, over 10 years. So it's had an opportunity to grow. So
that's cool. What about you, Chuck? Have you stumbled upon anything where you've said, okay, I kind of turned a page with my YouTube channel there, I need to keep doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things, and I'm not hesitant to share anything. I actually just made a video like 2 days ago, how to interview guests. I made a video on how to book guests on your podcast, and I try to help anybody with less subscribers than me. So, I have no problem with that. What I've learned is definitely, like it sounds simple, but make good content, have good interviews. If you can have the guests share the interview, that will help a lot.
Yeah.
I've also noticed for me, I think it was like, I don't know, a year or two ago, I was just using like the MacBook Pro camera, because like, oh, it's a MacBook Pro, it should be a pro camera. Well, no, the camera sucks on the MacBook. So I bought this I saw other YouTubers with really nice cameras. Like, what kind of camera is that? I looked into it. I can tell you the brand. I don't remember. It's like a Sony something or other. I can get it for you if you're interested. But it was a really expensive camera, and it was a pain in the ass to set up and sync it with the sound and all that, which I might not be synced right now.
No,
but,
you are.
Okay, good. The production element is huge on YouTube. I think YouTube pumps stuff up that has higher production. So like, especially with good sound. One thing I've noticed, I actually just messaged my friend about this today, because he'll post his podcast on YouTube without the video. And I go, dude, why don't you post it with video? You'll get way more views. And I think he just doesn't want to take the time to do it or whatever. But I mean, if you do those little things, like, you up the production and all that, I think that can make a difference. And then other than that, again, just goes back to just having good content and good interviews, and people will find you. Like Don Dokken interview, I imagine that one must have done pretty well on YouTube, because he doesn't do a lot of interviews, and people are going to be searching for Don Dokken on YouTube. So
yeah, and I'll tell you what the game changer was for us on that, and it backs up the point that you just made. The person that runs their social media shared that thing, and we are still getting just tons of activity on our page. I don't know what happened this week, but he shared a couple of pictures of like Jeff Keith and Mark Tureen, and it's
blown up.
It's blowing up.
Went to like 4,000 reactions just on a picture, and I'm like, but how does that happen?
I don't know. It somehow it got across. Who knows? Is that going to translate to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? Well, maybe not, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I did want to ask you a little bit, because you were bringing up the, people who you contact and the publicists and everything. There are so many publicists out there, and some of them are real nice. Some of them not so much.
Yep.
And some of them will just just ignore you. And no matter how many times you contact them, no matter, they'll say this, say that. Well, he's not doing this. He's not taking interviews. And then you'll see interviews, and you'll reach back out, and then they'll still tell you he's not doing interviews. And it's like, it's so frustrating on some of the publicists, and yet others are really nice, and they'll help you out. And it's almost like they only help you so much, and then they'll kind of ignore you, But have you guys have any kind of experiences like that with some of your contact info?
No, every publicist has said yes to me. They're all really nice. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's so easy.
I love them all.
Yeah.
So I think that's just part of the game. Is like, it's a lot of ups and downs, right? Like I said, like I'll post a video, 60 views, and I'll be like, oh, I should just quit. I suck at this. And then Nikki Sixx likes something. I'm like, oh my God, Nikki Sixx, I'm the biggest, great podcaster ever. And then the next day I get ignored. And then the other thing too is like, when you say, like, you're asking about if there's a magic formula, like I think a lot of times you don't know. Like I just interviewed Tony Horton, which isn't a music one, but he was like a big fitness guy, P90X program. Thing sold 11 million copies. Supposedly, I mean, he's got like, hundreds of thousands of followers. I mean, it's got that video right now is like 20 views. Now I had the bassist from Rat on. That thing is blown up. I don't know why. It's almost I think it's at 5,000 views or something crazy like that.
Wow.
Bunch of comments. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I like that interview. I thought one was great. Thought it was a good interview, but I wouldn't have picked that one of the last like 10 or 15 that I did to be by far and away the number one most popular episode I've done.
It's strange, isn't it? It's very strange.
Yeah.
There's also confusion in the market, so that the publicists are also confused and like, do they have time to really go vet all these shows and like, okay, how many subscribers does this person have? Well, they have a Facebook. There's a lot of people there. Oh, their interviews only get 60 views. I mean, the publicists have a lot to do too. So like, okay, we got to tell this person he's not doing any interviews right now, instead of saying you don't have a big enough subscriber base to do the interview. I mean, it's an intricate situation. It is a game that you got to be into play. It's murky waters.
You're telling me that it's code, that when they say they're not doing interviews right now, that's code for you guys suck and you're small potatoes. And
it's code for you're not Eddie Trunk, I guess.
Damn it.
Yeah.
But here, Clint, let me ask you this. How many times have you seen this where you reach out to a guest or publicist and they either ignore you or flat out turn you down, and then you see that guest on another show that has like half as many subscribers as you, or like a third, or
multiple
like
times a week,
smaller show, and you're like, well, why? It doesn't make any sense. Like,
that part is
with the publicists. Sometimes they're just like, they got an opening. Like I know when I booked Ted Nugent, I just kept asking, and then like one day they're like, hey, we had somebody cancel. Can you do it tomorrow? And I was like, okay. And so like I think I just got lucky on that one.
That's what happened to me too. Yeah.
Ted Nugent was a tough one for me, and I never got through.
Yeah.
And I would keep talking to her, and I'd try to be cute on one, and then
Exactly.
I'd be like, and then I try to change my personality.
Linda.
It's like, how can I like really like, get this woman on my side?
It's a crap shot. It's a crapshoot. I think it's just if they have an opening, or you just happen to catch them on a good day, or they're in a good mood, or whatever. I think there's a lot of that that goes on, and sometimes your email just gets flooded. So I think it's just like, if you keep asking, sometimes you just happen to get lucky.
Yeah.
So guys, do you do yours pre-recorded and then you upload them, or do you do live? I mean, what's your favorite one to do? Do you like to go live or pre-recorded your interviews?
For me, it's always been pre-recorded, even back in the obviously back in the telephone to the microphone days, that there was no way to go live at that point. So now, for some of the sports shows that I do with Starcade Media, we do go live, and that does tend to bring in a whole different kind of audience that likes to interact. And sometimes we have guests and sometimes we don't. But for this type of format, I always record, because I like to edit and I like to be able to take it in and kind of work with it once it's done. Like Chuck's talked about, just the audio. Sometimes there's issues, syncing, just graphics and things like that on the video. So yeah, I think live is something I would like to try at some point. I use a program called StreamYard. Now we're getting really interesting here, folks. StreamYard. We're talking intricate online materials here. This is really, I'm sure the audience will love this, but StreamYard's what I use for that. And I'm always like, I don't really trust that like people are going to be able to get in and go on there and get it. Like Zoom was hard for people to figure out at first.
Right.
If you remember that, just like, wait, I'm clicking, I can't get in. And
Yep.
So that's why it's always, for me, always easier to pre-record.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah, mine's pre-recorded too. I sometimes I've been going live more on my YouTube channel just for fun, and either I have a topic or I have things in mind that I want to talk about by myself, or sometimes I'll just have a guest, or if it's like somebody that's not, I don't really want to do like a full podcast interview, because Clint's right. Like I usually edit, I got to add the intro and the outro. My girlfriend syncs it for me. We put on the banner and all that stuff. It's just like a lot of like extra work.
Mm-hmm.
It's social media and all that. Whereas sometimes when I'm like, you know what? Like I just had my buddy from this podcast, straight to video, Rob Lane. I was like, hey, you want to go live? Let's just go live. And I just had him come on, and we just had a conversation. I went live with it. Screw it. So sometimes it's just fun to do those kinds of live streams that are. So for me, the live stream is kind of a more just loose, fun thing that I've been kind of doing for fun, and as kind of a supplement to the podcast. But I don't think I've really ever done an official like podcast episode live.
Well,
you got to trust that they're going to be there on time too.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
So now welcome to our
scary.
world.
It's super scary, and it's by the grace of God we haven't had more I think we had. Has it been one no show?
It's been a couple.
Maybe a couple.
Who was the no show? I think I remember.
Well, Chips Enough was one. We that was back when we first started, and we thought we could do two guests, back to back. 1 hour, 2 hour shows. We'd have like the Quiet Riot guitar player, Alex.
Yeah.
And then Chip was supposed to show up, but then he had to get on stage. I'm like, and I had his number and texting him and everything. And he's like, I'll be there. And then finally, like Alex just like recalled and said, I know his voice. He was texting me as we were like waiting for him to come on. And he's like, I'll be Chip. And so he called back and he's like, hey, how you doing? And started talking like Chip's enough. And so we're just,
and there were actually people in the chat room that thought it was Chip.
And that's the thing that we like about going live is for people to be in the chat room and ask questions and kind of build that kind of
rapport with the guests.
A little bit of fun.
I will say this though, like you talk about being a one-man operation, you get a little bit of help, but man, it's just the two of us now, and we were having Don Dawkin on last week, a couple weeks ago. People in the chat room were getting mad at us because A, Don wouldn't stop talking, and we didn't feel it was our place to interrupt him. But B, we didn't get to enough viewer comments and questions. So if you are going to go live, I think you need to figure out how to have a resource. Here we are, we're trying to conduct the interview. I'm running the technical side of things. He's trying to capture comments.
I'm watching comments and having to delete people for saying stupid shit.
It's a lot to manage, and there's a lot of pressure going live. So I think doing it pre-recorded is smart, and it's probably the safer way, but you do lose that element of the fan interaction with
and some people kind of like to see, it's not like the car wreck part, of it all. They want to see when they start stuff going. We're like getting on the phone and you can see me like sending emails to the publicist. Is he coming on?
Totally
it's all live, and of course we edit it. When we're done, but it's pretty crazy. But what are some of the toughest interviews you two have had?
Ooh, well, one of the toughest ones I ever had was Johnny Rod from Wasp and King Cobra, because he was drinking while driving and very high. And it was
wow.
It was one of the craziest things. It's the only time I've ever completely lost control of an interview. I'm talking the guys like screaming and hollering and just like not answering questions and just like starts singing Led Zeppelin songs. And then one time I was supposed to interview him again. So first time, shame on him. Second time was shame on me. And he pops in and he's like recording songs with like this dentist that he's recording with, this like boring guy with glasses. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I want to talk about Wasp. I want to talk about the Crimson Idol. Damn it. And so yeah, Johnny Rod always stands out. And that was like a big Metal Sludge moment, like about 2014 or 15, I think. And so that always stands out as my toughest one. I've had some. You talked about guests just kind of talking for long periods of time. I'm the same way. Like I don't really interrupt or try to get things going. You would think I would, given my quick get in and get out nature, but I let them kind of go sometimes, and that does happen. But nothing that really stands out. Like, oh man, that one just I can't. But Johnny Rod, if I have to list one, it's going to be that one. And you guys should have him on, and you'll have fun.
No, thank you. How about you, Chuck? Who was your toughest one?
There's like a few that people love to bring those up, by the way. I don't know why. Like
train wrecks are the best ones usually.
Yeah, I guess so. Like people remember that. Like, I'll do like a year-end review and I'll be like, oh, like I remember one time I had like some viewers on. I think it was a live stream on my channel, and I asked people, what was your favorite interview that I did? And they said, it's always the bad ones. So I think the one that stands out as the worst, though, that was just like, dude, why did this guy even do the interview? Was the guy from the Misfits, Doyle.
Oh yeah, Doyle.
And, wow. It was audio.
I remember that.
And there was all these like stipulations. You can't talk about this. You can't bring up this. You can't talk about the Misfits. You can't. It's like, okay, like you talk about it, veganism and the tour and like one other thing that I could mention. So I did. I followed all the rules. I was like, okay, I'm only going to ask about this. I'm going to ask about that. And like, he just was giving like one word answers, even to like, I was trying to ask open-ended questions, and he was just giving me like short answers to everything. And then I was trying to help him. I was like, yeah, like, blah, 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 something about his website. And he goes, oh, I don't know. I don't even go on the website. I was like, And I was like, well, you should check out your own website. Like, it's actually a pretty cool website. Like, I was just like laughing in the interview because I was like, I kind of knew it was going to be like that because I listened to previous interviews.
Yeah.
But then I was also kind of cocky that I was like, I can win him over. Like, I'm just going to be so good that I'll win him. And it's like, no, it was a and it's a short interview too. I think it's like 15 minutes or something because I was like, all right, well, I guess we're done. Like,
yeah.
So
sometimes you just pull the ripcord because it's going nowhere fast.
You guys have one?
Man, who do you think was our toughest?
Oh, geez. Gosh, there were so many.
I mean,
some of them were good. I thought were good, but they were
intense.
They were dry. You know, they're a little bit of a
Jeff
dry.
Tate.
Jeff Tate was a tough one.
He's that
oh
way.
yeah, he was tough for me too.
Yeah,
he was tough because you would try to charm him, and he'd be like, "Yeah," and then you have to like,
come on, Jeff.
Get it out of them. But there was a couple other ones. Some of them would just talk forever, and it's like you'd ask them like a couple of questions, and then they just took over.
Yeah.
And you just basically just sit there and stared at the camera.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. But talk about rock news sites like Blabbermouth and Brave Words, Loudwire. What are some of your favorite ones that you guys like to read? Do you reach out to all of those for your interviews to see if they will publish any of your interviews? I know, Chuck, you got, I believe it was Buck Cherry got on Loudwire, which was cool because he doesn't drink water or something like that, which I don't think we've got on Loudwire yet. But
you need to clarify that statement. He doesn't drink water while performing.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting. But again, that's one of those ones where I'm like, okay, if I was going to pick like which interviews or which even parts of the interview would be the most interesting and newsworthy, I would not have picked that part as one of the ones that would hit Loudwire. But yeah, I've hit Loudwire a few times. I used to send out all my interviews with a transcript and like a few story ideas to like, I had like a blind CC of like 20 websites or something like that. And a lot of them, like, Rolling Stone never obviously picked any up. But yeah, I mean, at first it was like Sleaze Rocks used to do a lot of my stories. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, they just kind of stopped doing them. And so I kind of just stopped. And then I just kind of stopped sending stuff because Blabbermouth would sometimes they would post their news story before I even had a chance to email them. So I was like, all right, well, Blabbermouth is kind of been my go-to lately. And then if they like it and they pick it up, and then sometimes other like the Loudwires or the I've had like Ultimate Classic Rock and Metal Edge. That was one of the coolest because I loved Metal Edge as a kid.
Absolutely.
So even though they misspelled my name, which was weird because it said like Chuck Shute SCHUTE of the Chuck Shute, and then Chuck Shute podcast was spelled right, but it's fine. Like I had the guy Paul Gargano on my show. He's awesome. So that was cool. And then the other one, what is Guitar World. I used to read that as a kid. Like I said, I tried to play guitar for a couple of years. So that was weird. I was like, well, I was on that website. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I think like if it's a good story, like the news, those sites they'll figure it out. They'll pick it up.
To me, those are like the trophies of all your hard work. You go through all this contacting people, reaching out, emailing, prepping for the show, doing all this research and getting everybody on board and trying to figure out how, what questions to ask without sounding, overdone. And then something gets picked up and it gets a lot of reactions and comments and everything, and it blows up and gets a lot of views on your YouTube, which I like to send my link to my YouTube. And then they put our name, which they hit that, it goes to our Facebook. So that way I'm getting kind of both the best of both worlds. Where if they want to click on the name, that goes to our Facebook, and then the link to our YouTube. But I mean, I'm the same way as far as getting all the views and everything on Blabbermouth is my go-to as well.
It makes you feel validated, I guess. What's funny is I'm sure you guys have heard this too. A lot of the guests hate Blabbermouth, and I get it. I get it. It's because it's brutal, and people are brutal on there. I remember how Chuck Wright got so upset. I don't think we did anything wrong, but something came out on Blabbermouth from his interview, and he was really worried about it. So of course we felt bad. But
I actually cost Chuck an interview because of one that I did with Dean Castronovo that was on Blabbermouth, and it was something about his drug addiction. He said he would take enough drugs to kill a rhino. I didn't ask about drugs. He brought it up, and it gets on there. And then Chuck's like, I was supposed to do an interview with Dean Castronovo from Journey, and they said he was no longer doing interviews because of his Blabbermouth thing. I was like, Chuck, I'm sorry. That was the interview I just did with him. I'm so sorry.
Oh, man.
It wasn't your fault. I listened to the interview. You didn't even ask him about that. It slipped out of there. But yeah, for me, I mean, that stuff is kind of nice sometimes, but also like, yeah, I kind of worry about that. For me, like, I agree. I mean, it is nice to be recognized and to have people see that. But for me, the real trophy, like, I know this sounds cheesy, but like, is when somebody comments and says like, hey, like, this was a really good interview. I really enjoyed it. Like, that to me is like, oh, wow. Like, that's amazing. Or like, I had this one guy, I think it was the rat one. He said like, he goes, oh, like, thank you for doing this interview. I'm so excited. It's my birthday. I'm going to listen to this. I'm like, wow, like, I just made somebody else's day better. Like, that's what I want to do more of. Like, there's enough rumors and gossip and bullshit in the world. Not saying that all the websites do all that stuff, but you know, that stuff is like, sometimes there's like too much of that where it was cool the other day because I had the guy from Seven Dust, and they he talked about how his voice has gotten stronger, and Blabbermouth did a story about that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. They're doing, you know, like a positive thing, which is nice too. Also, I think the gossip sometimes too is also just really funny. So if you have a sense of humor like I do, I think it's pretty funny.
Man, good for you. Yeah. Blabbermouth, try something positive. It might go well for you. I know what you mean. Boy, I would love to talk to the Seven Dust guy. I may have to ask you how you got it. We'll talk later about that. That's
they've only played Rocklahoma 12 times out of the 17-year existence. I mean, they're there every year, right?
No kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Now, album of the year, Chuck. I believe that you said Extreme 6 is a candidate for you for album of the year during your Gary Sharon interview. Does that still hold true?
It does, actually. Yeah. Even though like they got mad at me for posting the interview, or there were some issues. I had to take it down because I revealed too much about the album, and it was, spoiler alert, I guess I'd never had experienced that before. But so I don't know. No hard feelings on my end. Like, I love the band. I'm not, so I hope I didn't piss them off too much. But yeah, I love that album. I actually love the Seven Dust album too, which I was never a huge Seven Dust fan, but this new album is just so eclectic. I just really like eclectic albums that are kind of like a journey of like, this song's really heavy and this song's light. And then that's how the Extreme one is. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of good music out there. You just have to, it's kind of like the podcast. It is a little bit oversaturated, so you have to find the good stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. Now,
Clint, you interviewed Josh Todd of Buck Cherry, and you said that you did some sort of a review. And during the interview, you said you put in a review. I'm not sure what that is or how you do something like that. I don't know if that was your album of the year as well.
Funny enough, it's not my album of the year, but it was really good. And I don't like Buck Cherry. I'm just going to be really honest about it. I don't like Buck Cherry at all.
Sure.
I was at the Rocklahoma actually when this has nothing to do with not liking Buck Cherry, but their power went out right in the middle of their set, and they were just gone. They were off. It was like 2019, I think. So that was my only experience with them. But that album, it actually is really good. And I took the time to listen to it. Their cover of Summer of '69 is horrendous. The worst thing I've ever heard in my life. But the rest of the album is excellent. Now, my album of the year, because I am from the 80s and I love melodic 80s sounding rock, is the Defiance Drive. The Defiance are members of Danger Danger that have a different singer named Paul Lane, who used to be the singer in Danger Danger for a while. Yeah. But they have made a masterpiece. If you like those hooks and the 80s sounding guitars and big solos and big choruses, the Defiance Drive is my album of the year. It might be my album of the last 5 years. It is absolutely excellent. And if you're into that kind of music, definitely check it out. But no, the Buck Cherry new album, it's really good. And I give them props for that, because that's an objective review.
What was exactly that you said that you put in? You told Josh that you put in a review or something, and is that something like a journalist skit or something that they kind of?
Yeah. So I think for that, the publicist had sent out the album and like a private link, and you could add like some thoughts or comments about it under that. And so I did do that. So that is something and that kind of came out of nowhere. Like I'm not even really in contact with that specific publicist, and it just kind of happened. And sure, yeah, I'd love to do the interview. And I mean, Josh was another one that was kind of hard to warm up too. It took a while, and but it turned out okay, and I liked the album, and I'm gonna give Buck Cherry kind of another lease, I think now. I think maybe
both those interviews you guys did with him, I thought were pretty good, both of them, because you guys already had yours already in, because we had to push ours back or something. You guys already had yours in, so I used both your interviews for some resources.
Thanks, fellas, appreciate that. I mean, I think we all probably do that, because I mean, you kind of need to know what's currently going on. Of course, you can look on the internet and find out just under the news section, but I mean, if resources are out there to utilize, you might as well. And you're right, it did take a little bit of time for us to warm him up. We found the way to his heart through his dog. As soon as we brought up his dog, he was just putty in our hands at that point. But good stuff. Now, real quick question while I'm thinking about it. We'll start wrapping this up pretty soon. Clint, I know you do this full time. Chuck, is podcasting your full time gig as well?
It is right now. Yeah, it's mostly my main focus. I have all these other ideas of things I want to do, which I'm not ready to reveal yet. But right now, I promised myself that I'd give myself 5 years to kind of basically go all in on this and just see what happens and see where I'm at the end of 5 years. So I just passed the 4th year, so I'm going to give it at least another year. And I think I'll always still do it, but I may dial it back to like one a week or something like that. Sure. And it may not be all in. But for now, I'm just trying to kind of go all in and see what happens at the end of 5 years. And if it leads to something like, you want that like opportunity or that big viral episode or something. And so like, again, it's those things where you're like, maybe I should just quit this. But then again, it's like I say, I probably mentioned this way too many times, but like when Nikki's 6, you're like, holy shit, like maybe I should keep going. So I'm going to try to go at least another year and just see. I think that's like, because I think too many things for me, at least in my life, like I just quit too early, that I tried it and I was like, I'm not very good at this, or it was too hard. And then I would just quit. And so I made a promise. I was like, okay, if I really want to give it a chance, I got to give it like 5 years. I think that's like most things. And like if you start a business or anything in life, you got to really give it a long time before it's really going to blossom into something, if it is going to blossom.
Right. So let me ask you this. Well, like I said, we'll start wrapping it up. I don't know that Scott and I will ever be in a position to do it full time. I know that it's fun to dream about that.
I'm going to do it tomorrow.
You're going to quit your job tomorrow? That's great. Great news. The mortgage company will love that.
Yeah.
So my question for you guys, who you are doing this full time, and maybe Chuck, maybe you just said it. If someone that really wants to just go for this, I don't know. You have all these bills, you got to pay them. We feel like we got to pay them with the day job. Is that just a deal where if it, like any other dream, if you want to go for it, you just have to sell your stuff, live real meagerly, and then just jump into it and commit to it, full time as though it is your day job?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough question. I don't want to tell anybody to like sell their life possessions. And then, podcasting is a very competitive thing, and it's not, unless you're Joe Rogan or something, like you're probably not going to make a lot of money right off the bat. I think my thing is like, I kind of want to see where it leads. Like, I've done almost 400 episodes and I've met some amazing people such as Clint and yourselves. And so I just wanted to see what happens, like, and where it leads to. Like, you hear stories like Kevin Smith, the guy that directed Clerks and stuff, like he sold his comic book collection and charged the film for his first one, Clerks, charged like $20,000 on his credit card, basically just went into debt on this one movie. If the movie could have tanked and he could have, but it's like, so it just depends on how much do you believe in this. I think like the thing with podcasting is like, you can start it without having to go into debt. You can start it for free. Give it at least 5 or 10 episodes before you mortgage your house or whatever, like, and see if you even like it. I think there's a lot of people that think, oh, this is easy. I want to talk to rock stars and I'm going to hang out and I'm going to be their best friends. And all I have to do is just turn on a camera and a microphone and talk. And it's like, for me, it's like not easy at all. There's a lot of prep that goes into it. Yeah. And I'm not really interested in like being the rock stars' friends. Some of them I've kind of gotten somewhat close to or hung out with a little bit here and there, but that's not really my goal. Like if that's what your thing is, you just want to be close to rock stars, then you could always try something else. You could be a roadie or do lighting or sound or just pay $20 for a cameo from some of these guys. That's going to save you more time and money in the long run.
Right. I just like to add that every single one of us here are the 2%ers in this world. They say 2% of people, for one circumstance or another, follow their dreams, whatever that is. That represents every single person here. It's not for everybody. And like I said, I knew from a young age I was just not a normal person that could even handle doing anything else but following my dreams. And that's in sports, and that's in all the things that interest me. And for you guys, you know, I remember back to 2007 when I think you guys like won like a fan vote for Down for Five to perform at their first Rocklahoma. Mm-hmm. That was impactful for me because we got to know a lot of people like on the Rocklahoma message board that existed back then, and just to see how the power of that. And that had to be impactful for you guys too, because it set you guys off on a course. Now I've seen you guys live a couple times. And so here you guys are as musicians, and you have never given up. You've kept it going, and now you're doing this. So that's the 2%ers. There's not many people that can be, for whatever reason, life situation, kids, marriages. I've never been married and I have no kids. That's another factor in this that nobody likes to talk about.
Sure.
I've never been married. I don't have any kids. Okay. And so like, I just kind of do whatever I want. It's a beautiful feeling. It sounds selfish and a little narcissistic, but I don't know. Like time's the greatest asset we have, according to Brandon Lee. I agree with him, and I'm just try to use every bit of it to
But you did get to meet Kiss with your girlfriend, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the other way to that is get yourself a sugar mama like I do, and that's how I got to meet Kiss.
That's our problem, Scott. I'm broke. You're broke. So, we didn't do the right thing here.
With us working, you know, we like to schedule our shows kind of, you know, spread them out a little bit. Because, you know, we come home, we're tired. We don't want to sit here and talk for an hour, and then we got to send stuff out and share stuff and do all this stuff, you know, just to get views. And back to your Rocklahoma comment, you know, back then we were fighting to get votes, and now we're fighting to get views. So, you know, it's always a fight, you know, to do something. But how do you guys do your scheduling? If this is your full-time thing, how do you do your scheduling? Do you want to put one out once a week? Do you want to do 2 a week? How do you spread it out? And because some of these guys, they'll do them they'll say 2:00, or they'll want to do it at 10:00, or, you know, it's never the time that you want it. It's always the time that they want it. And that sometimes can really make things difficult, especially if you have a day job.
Yeah, you try to just be available. And for me, I do once a week, and that way that if it's kind of slow or whatever, or I get a couple in the can, I can spread them out. More than once a week would be kind of tough for me, especially trying to do all the other things. So like for Chuck, he usually does more than one a week, usually a couple or sometimes even 3. For me, I try to keep it, just release an episode on Fridays, whatever that may be, and kind of go on to the next week and try to spread it out as much as I can. Especially lately, this summer has not been the most prolific summer for interviews like some have in the past. So I'm really kind of trying to milk it at times, and not like, oh, well, I got 3, I better put them out. I am always kind of protective because I'm like, I don't know when the next one's going to come. I don't know when the next meal is going to come from.
Sure. Totally get that.
Yeah. For me, it's I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to go all in on this. And then especially like, I posted a video like a month ago, and it was about my goals for the rest of the year and for the next couple months. And I said, all right, I'm going to do a video every single day. I think I can't remember the exact date it was. It was like around July 1st. And I said, I'm going to do a video every single day until September 1st. I'm going to try to hit 3,000 subscribers. So I've pretty much kept to that on average. Some days I miss a day, but I'll do 2 the next day. And sometimes, I mean, I count a video as even like a short clip from my episode. Yeah. So I'll either post a podcast, a short clip from an episode, or I'll do a short little news break or something, or some sort of solo video where I'm teaching, or I'll just do a random live stream. Like I'll just grab somebody, hey, let's go live. Just so I'm doing video every single day. Yeah. And it's hard to see at the end of that on September 1st, and I'm going to look back at all that and go, okay, what worked and what didn't? What should I do more of? I'm kind of experimenting right now. I'm trying different things, different kinds of guests, different kinds of videos, short videos, long videos, you know, all that stuff, and live streams, and just see what the people like. I mean, the people will tell me what works and what doesn't with how many views and comments and things. So and again, I'm like Clint. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I mean, I got cats and a girlfriend, so it's like pretty flexible. I don't have like a day job with hours and things. So I'm always like to just try to be as flexible as I can with the guests. Sometimes they'll say like with Seven Dust, they're like, I reached out and they said, okay, can you do it tomorrow? Like, I really didn't want to do it the next day because I wasn't to have another.
You want to research a little bit.
Research.
Yes.
And so I was like, yeah, I always just say yes. It's the same like with Ted Nugent. I was like, yes, because like you don't know if you're going to get that opportunity again. So
That's
I just
right.
work. Thankfully, rarely have I had like, hey, can you do it at this time? And I already have a guest there. I've never had to bump somebody because I feel like that'd be an awkward conversation. But yeah, I just try to be as flexible as I can. And again, I think it's like, if you want to be really good at something, you kind of have to go all in and you can't like force that. Like, I just love doing it. I love podcasting. Not to say that I don't sometimes get burnt out and want to break, but for the most part, like even after a couple days off, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back into it. Like, I want to interview these people. I want to have these conversations. I love sharing it. I hate doing all the editing and all the social media and the post stuff, but I love doing the research and doing the actual interviews, and even making some of the clips can be kind of fun sometimes too.
I mean, imagine the guy with Rock Feed. I mean, he just basically just tells the news that he sees on Loudwire, Blabbermouth, and all these, and he's got a cool setup, and people tune in, and I mean, he's got so many subscribers, and he's got that voice, and everyone's like, oh yeah, and he just so-and-so does this and says this, and he just kind of goes through the timelines of things. And
He hit
it's
a
like,
gold
wow.
mine with his channel for sure.
But there's a lot of channels like that. And yeah, I thought about doing that. My buddy Adika, who hosts Artists on Record, and he's got a lot of subscribers too, and he started doing more of that. And we've talked about, a lot of times people are not going to watch a full interview, so it's either you've got to break it up into clips, or you've got to just do these little solo videos where you're just doing a news break. He's been doing a lot of these news breaks, and he had one that was on Ace Frehley the other day, and it got over 10,000 views. And all he did was, he took a clip of and just kind of read the news. And I think some people really respond to that. And so I've experimented with that a little bit, but I also think I don't know if that's really the direction I want to go, because I don't really want to be like a news reporter. I want to be an interviewer. So, but
I agree.
Maybe I need to do some of that to supplement it and get my subscriber numbers up. And then I can go to these publicists and say, look, I have 30,000 subscribers. And
you may already do this, but one thing we've kind of stumbled on and Scott gets the credit for all of the work on this side of things, but we make we'll do our interview because we're like you. We want to talk and get in depth with people. And then he makes the little reels or the little shorts where he finds like a really key part of the interview. And man, those things will get views because like you said, it's a 30-second or a 60-second clip. You're in, you're out, you've grabbed that person's attention. I'm fairly certain those have led to new subscribers and followers for us.
Yeah, both of you guys are on TikTok, and I've seen a lot of your videos on there as well. But like you said on a previous question, you don't know what's going to take off, which is so weird. You just kind of throw something out and you think, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be an attention grabber, and then you'll get like 200 views or whatever, and you're like, yeah, wow, okay. And then something else is just kind of stupid. You throw it out there, and then bam, it's like, oh wow, it's got 2,000 views or 8,000, 15.
Well, I wish I had been the person filming Ace Frehley bomb Detroit Rock City and play it a half step too high. Because that thing went. That was rough. I know exactly what video you're talking about.
And so many people just don't understand. Like, is that guitar out of tune? It's like, no, it's not out of tune because he's playing it just fine when he's in the right key. It's just he was in a wrong placement on the guitar.
Yeah, that's music nerd talk. Never mind. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, here's some YouTube nerd talk. Do you guys see now? I don't think you guys have 1,000 subscribers yet.
Nope.
But I think they changed the rules. Can you look at your analytics? Because once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I got monetized, and then I could look at my analytics, and then you can see every video, how many views it got, but also like how many subscribers you got from that video. And that's what I noticed. That guy, the Juan Crucier, he got me like 50 plus new subscribers, which was like insane to me. That's like really good. Most of my videos, like some of my shorts get 0 or like 1 or 2 new subscribers. It just depends. But that's a very key statistic, I think, for me, more so than the views. Because sometimes I'll get like 2,000 views and 0 subscribers, which is like crazy to me. I'm like, 2,000 people saw this and not one person hit the sub button. Like,
so random. Yeah.
And
So random.
tell me this, guys. What constitutes a view? Are we talking like they look at it for 10 seconds and move on, or do you guys know the answer to that?
3 seconds, right?
I know for the shorts, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, if you see it, that counts as a view. I don't know with the longer form videos, it might have to be 30 seconds. I'm not sure exactly, but
Okay.
I think if you press the play button, I think it counts, but I'm not
think
exactly
so.
sure.
Pretty
Okay.
sure, yeah.
All right.
Now, Clint, you're more of the get out there. You'll go to these guys, and we've had a couple of guests come and sit down with us, which was really cool. We had Josie Scott from Saliva, and we had Phil Lewis from LA Guns. We got to sit down and talk to him. He actually came to our house,
Yeah, that
which
was
was
awesome.
very odd. You had the manager in there in another room. I had little refrigerator with beers and stuff, and they're eating snacks and stuff. It was really, really weird.
He got nervous at one point of that interview too.
But it was a really cool interview, fun.
Yeah.
But you will go to people. You went to John Bush. What's that like to go mobile with your interviews?
I love to do it. I think that's why I wanted to call the show On the Road to Rock, because I am a frequent traveler. I'm all over the country, and partnering with festivals like Rocklahoma or Louder Than Life, and just being out and about, being able to, if I'm going on a trip, or I try to like pair things up. Okay, if I'm like going to this Chiefs game here in Dallas, and actually there's this concert there, I try to pair stuff up. Or if I'm on vacation or anything like that, I try to get the most out of it as possible. So when I can work it out, it is a very gratifying to do stuff like that. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
The John Bush one was actually great. He was extremely nice. Everything went great. Sometimes there's a little red tape and, we got to go backstage and this person doesn't know who you are. And there's been some weirdness with that, but I love to do it. And I think that those can be some of the better interviews in person sometimes. So I like to do this whenever I can. It's maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Like last year in November, Corey Feldman's publicist emailed me and said, can you be here in 2 hours to interview Corey? Well, I live 3 hours away.
Wow.
So I literally, I didn't even have adequate equipment. I threw whatever I could in my car, drove to the Lake of the Ozarks where he was performing, did the interview, couldn't even do video because I didn't have anyone with me and I didn't have the right equipment. So I literally had these 2 mics and it got done. But I love to do it. There was an adrenaline rush that goes along with that.
That's
for sure.
awesome.
And it just more of a connection. Yeah.
When you get a confirmed guest and it's a big name, man, it's like, yes, it's like,
it is,
you don't, you live your day to day and you do your thing. And then when you get something like that, it's just like, hell yes. And it's just like, I can't wait to like tell people that this is coming, so it's always a great feeling.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing a remarkable job.
Yes.
I listen to you guys on Spotify. So just know that there's views out there or listeners on your audio podcasts, such as Spotify. And I do watch you guys on YouTube, and Clint, you're just all over the place, and I congratulate both of you guys for doing all your hard work and getting all these views and getting out there and kicking ass, man. You guys are having fun. You guys look like you're having fun, and we appreciate it.
Definitely. And
so
Chuck,
nice.
I just want to kind of reaffirm something you said earlier. For you, it's not about the blabbermouth stuff. It's about making someone's day brighter. I meant everything I said at the first of this interview when I said to people like Scott and me who are pretty green in this industry, we look at you two as role models, as an example for people who have studied and done their homework, and they study their guests. They know how to handle their guests. They know how to set up their room, set up their mics, set up their lighting. They know how to approach things. You guys truly have set a bar that a lot of us are trying to get to. So, as you both are out there, striving to maybe it is you're living right now, you're striving to get there where it's just your full-time gig. Do not give up, because there are people watching both of you who are very much admiring your work and your tenacity. He and we've talked about cutting the cord on this thing probably a minimum of 5 times, because trust me,
that's all part of it. Yeah.
That's just part of it. You feel like, okay, everyone and their dog is doing this. There's nothing we're doing that's all that special. Then you hear from someone, hey, thanks for that interview. That was amazing. That really made my day better. And it just pushes you to keep going. So guys, don't give up. You're an example to the rest of us. We love and appreciate both of you and your efforts and what you're doing.
Oh, you guys got merch to sell?
I do not know. Do you?
I do.
You got to have some hats and some shirts.
I do have some stuff on our website, starcademedia.com. There's a merchandise tab there. There's stuff that we do with our sports, Starcade Media, and just on the road to rock, a couple things. So not a huge part of what we do, but we did throw some stuff out there just in case. And, my girlfriend looks good in it, so I keep making it.
Right on.
Well, if you guys are watching this stream, make sure you hit subscribe on these guys' YouTube channel. Hit follow on their Facebook pages. Check them out on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above.
Yeah. Any final words, guys, before we cut you both loose?
Yeah, I just want to say, the only thing people could do to support is the social media and the subscribe, and then following and subscribing to all my guests. I appreciate that, and the guests do. And then I just want to say thank you for having us on here. Clint and I were talking before. We're like, dude, these guys are killing it. Like you're saying, like you guys are green or whatever. I've never gotten George Lynch or Don Dawkin. Like you've had a lot of guests that I haven't been able to get with like over 4 years of experience. So congrats on your show. I think it's blowing up. It's doing very well. So definitely keep going. Like I'm humbled by the compliments that you give me, and I just want to say I appreciate all that. So thank you.
I am doubly humbled, especially going back as far as I do with you guys and seeing you on that stage at Rocklahoma 07, sharing it with, I think bands like, Steelheart played that day, maybe Faster Pussycat later in the day. There were so many bands that you guys shared that stage with and continue to play in casinos with so many legendary artists. I just saw you guys play right after Bret Michaels back in November, which was awesome. And like, that was just such a fun experience because I had like a lot of members of my family. My cousin was getting ready to get married, and we're like, oh, we're just going to go home. And then I was like, dude, we got Rocket Science is playing, and you guys were just killing it. So many great songs. And like, we just kept drinking. It kept getting more fun. We stayed like so late. So you guys, I've looked up to you guys from afar for so long, and I keep seeing you down in the Tulsa area. I wind up in Tulsa far too often. I was there for Scorpions, Wasp, Maiden. I'm always in Tulsa. You guys are getting a lot of the shows that Kansas City is not currently. So something's going on there at the BOK Center.
Will you please hit us up next time you're here in Tulsa, and we'll go grab some dinner together?
100%.
Or better yet, the next time you two guys go to Vegas, let us know and we'll meet you up there.
Boom.
I'm in. I'm only 5 hours from Vegas, or if you're ever in the Arizona area, hit me up and let's hang out. Or if I ever go to Oklahoma, I've never been there. Maybe I should go.
Get your ass to Rocklahoma, Chuck. I tried to get you this year. It's got to happen.
When is it? When's it next year? I'll put it in my calendar.
It's always Labor Day weekend.
Yep. Come on down.
Oh, so it's coming up then, right?
Right.
Yep. September.
We got a spare bedroom, fellas. I'm just saying.
I usually stay in Joplin, which is quite a hike, but it's better than what they have prior.
I don't know if I'll make this year, but maybe next year, because this year I think we're going to Colorado. But the following year, I should put it in my calendar. That sounds amazing. That'd be really fun.
It's a great festival. So thank you guys.
Before we cut you loose, I want to read a couple viewer comments. Melanie Hall says, we are always cheering for you guys too. Gonna go subscribe to their channels now. So, hey, we've already did part of our work.
Nice.
Pieces of Us, which is a band here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, says, great show, very informative on social media and broadcasting. Denise Dossing says, replying to Laughing Out Loud, I prefer, she's talking about something. Sorry about that.
She was joking about, she said, I'm going to start a podcast now. And then she said, no.
Yeah.
She's a special girl, man. She is. I guess the appropriate term is a runner. Like when the bands come in town, she'll be the one that runs them back and forth from the venue to the hotel, and she takes care of all their needs.
I thought you meant like a runaway.
No. Well, some of the bands probably make her want to run away, but no, she hooks those guys up. She's a good girl. Big supporter of our stream. But hey guys, seriously, thank you for coming on with us. We truly appreciate your time. We appreciate your efforts. Never give up, and by all means stay in touch. Let us know how we can support both of you going forward.
Same. Thank you guys so much.
You bet, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Back on.
Awesome.
All right. Oh, Clint left. Okay.
All right. Wow. Well, that was informative, and I feel smarter.
Yeah.
Man.
That's cool.
Definitely.
I'm glad I didn't get to all of my stuff because, it's with a 2-person interview, it kind of goes, it splits up a little bit on time. I mean, where it doesn't, it just kind of goes longer. But
yeah,
I had a great time listening to those guys, and they're very informative and very cool on what they. Todd Edwards is texting me.
Hi, Todd. Denise, I know you do merch. That's a given. I know. I forgot to mention that to them. You do it all, sister. Merch, runner, all of the above. You do it all. Well, that was amazing. Thank you, Chuck and Clint, for letting us pick your brains about this crazy business that we have found ourselves in. We do need to give a shout out to, and Scott, I'm so sorry, but that whole time I never cut to the side camera, so
there we go.
Just for you, there's the side camera looking bright and washed out as always. That's okay though. I want to give a shout out to Psych Mocheck. Thank you for our really cool new intro. We really appreciate your hard work on that. It looks great. If you guys need a video done for your band or your business or your podcast, hit up Psych Mocheck at psychomo@gmail.com, and he will hook you up with a super cool video like what we got. DEB concerts. We were just talking about Rocklahoma. It is coming up. It's going to be here before you know it. You got to check out Doug Burgess's stage out there, the D&B processing stage at the Roadhouse. He's going to have so many cool bands on it. It's going to be a great time for everyone that heads out there. Go to Rocklahoma and have a great time. Dustin Little, do you guys have IT needs? Is your computer messed up? You're needing something in the technical world fixed? Well, Dustin's your guy. Contact Okie PC at 918-640-0892 or email Dustin at okiepc.com. He will take care of your IT needs. Greg Shipman at Jennifer Shipman, shipmanphotos.com. Your branding is done right when you go to them. Look at those beautiful pictures they did for us. They will hook you up with some great looking photos for anything you need, band, business, all of the above. They are your hookup. Do you guys need screen printing? You need some t-shirts printed for your band or your business or whatever. They will hook you up with that as well. Todd Cook is our friend at Identity Merch. If you want Tulsa Music Stream shirts, hoodies, tanks, you can go to our Facebook page, Tulsa Music Stream, and click on the website link, and it'll take you to our online store. We didn't really get to talk about this up front, but let's mention it quickly. If you guys want to watch Tulsa Music Stream not only live, but on replay, you can always see us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I know Twitter is now called X, but we're going to stick with the Bluebird because he's cute.
Well, they still call it Twitter, right?
I don't know if they call it Twitter or X, but we're calling it Twitter because I'm not getting our brand new banner reprinted with the X on it. And if you want to hear us on audio podcast format, you can go to Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Let's talk about what we got coming up.
Yeah, Monday, August 7th at 4 p.m. Central, we have the one and only Jeff Keith of Tesla, and that will be amazing. So as soon as I get off work, I got to come home, and we're going to knock it out with Jeff Keith from Tesla. So make sure you tune in and watch the stream with us at 4 p.m. Central. Also that day at 7 p.m., we will be with Josh Lopez with a new band from Texas, A Way Out. And I think it's San Antonio.
I think that's right.
New band. Sometimes we want to give some of these new bands a shot and kind of talk to them and fill them out because you never know.
Man, he tried to call me too. I don't know what's going on.
So we also, Thursday, August 10th, 7 p.m. Central, we will have Ira Black from the Bullet Boys. Thursday, August 24th at 7 p.m. Central, Mark Torian from the Bullet Boys. So we have a packed out, and I do believe we'll be having the Ripper from Judas Priest coming as well, and perhaps we'll probably have that in September. But make sure you guys tune in, and we thank each and every one of you for hanging out with us for the Clint Switzer Chuck Shute episode 86. We will see you guys. Make sure you share our episode, our stream everywhere. I mean, we're everywhere. Just share it wherever you are, and hit that like button and subscribe and leave a comment. We thank you guys so much. Thanks.
Guys, make sure you're back here Monday, August 7th, 4 p.m. Central for Jeff Keith from Tesla. Going to be a big one. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching Tulsa Music Stream. We'll see you soon.